destinations.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's just so many options for getting there, especially because Portland is so close. You're talking about, you know, flying. Can you take a train? Where are you going? So I actually did crunch some of those numbers you're talking about. So cars, went ahead and did that first. The drive time is about 5 hours. Gas prices here in Washington are sitting at 4.83. Oregon, a little bit of relief, got a little bit of those lower numbers. But let's also take a look at planes. If you have yourself flying out of GEG, according to Experian, you're looking at about 550 round trip. But again, these are likely to spike the closer we get to these events. And hotels, well, we decided to calculate that based on if you're there for round 1 and for round 2. You can get a hotel for about $135 a night. Of course, the closer you get to Moda Stadium is the better, of course. And then there's the tickets themselves. According to Ticketmaster, those prices sitting at $70.50 for the first round, just in that neighborhood of $70, and then up to about $150 for that second round. So really, there's a lot of considerations when you're traveling here. It's getting the tickets. It's seeing if there's anything cool in Portland to do. Because we are going for the game. But of course, you got to take advantage of the food that's there. You got to take advantage of the fun things that are happening in Portland. So if you are budgeting and you are looking, maybe driving's the best option, maybe flying, but book it sooner rather than later, because those prices are just going to jump the sooner and the closer that we get to these round 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think there was a big exhale for the Zag fans. Like, it is drivable. You can get in a car and you can get over there by Thursday and watch that game. But you're right, those ticket prices are going to be rising. So.
Absolutely, especially looking into, hopefully, you know, the Sweet 16 and then, of course, the finals in Indianapolis. If you are planning to go, those tickets got to be on top of that, Sean.
Got it. All right. Belle Lewis, appreciate it. We'll be checking back with you, Belle. Thank you. All right, our drive for the title coverage continues now, and we have our crews all over. In fact, we have crews with Idaho as well. Right now, let me ask the crew back in the control room, where would you like to go next? All right, we're going back to AJ down in the kennel.
That's right, guys. I'm here with a healthy Graham Ike. If that wasn't clear, he wanted to put that out there, which is what fans want to see, right? I'm sure everyone is excited to see that. They're also excited to see where the Zags are going. It's Portland versus Kennesaw State. What were your emotions as you saw that come up on the bracket?
I was just excited that we're back in the dance, in the good seating, and close to home. The location is awesome, so I'm just glad that we got a good seating, great location. Best time to be alive right now.
Absolutely. A lot of fun coming up for you guys. I know you're probably going to make a comment about we don't want to look past the first matchup, but I do have to ask you, there's some other interesting things in the bracket as you look past to a team like BYU that has a lot of history with this program as well, or you see Purdue even farther down the line. Does it get you excited?
I feel like you know me so well. Like, I'm just staying where my feet are, just trying to win one game at a time. Coach is saying we got a 2-game tournament where we got to win both games, but the first one matters, or the first one is more important. So we just got to handle business where we are right now.
Do you feel pressure to make sure that things go differently than they did last season?
Pressure's funny. It either bursts pipes or makes diamonds. So I don't necessarily know if I feel it, but it's just a great spot to be in. And at the end of the day, we're just playing basketball, you know. Very true. What do you know about the Owls and how you guys need to prepare for them? I didn't know that was their mascot, first off. That's sweet. I know they play fast. They're like top 20 in pace of play. They just won their conference tournament, so we just got to play great defense, make sure we get good shots on goal that don't set us up for bad transition defense or anything, and just play sound defense and great offense. Have fun while doing it. We've talked to not necessarily just younger guys so far, but also newer guys to the program. But you have a history with this program. Does that carry a little bit more weight on how you want to leave? Not necessarily. I think the experience matters the most when going into this tournament. And that's really what I try to lean on from my freshman year, from my first 2 years here, like just leaning on the past experience, maybe going back to some of those games and seeing how things were called, or maybe the environment and how teams are playing, the physicality of things. But just want to get it to my guys, my young guys, and for those who haven't been here before, just to enjoy it and leave no regrets out on the floor. Obviously, a lot is expected out of you, game in and game out. For guys like Davis and Mario that have really stepped up, how significant can that be for this group as you guys head into this tournament? Yeah, I think it's huge. They've been playing at such a high level as of right now, especially Vegas. They had a great turnout in Vegas. I think they grew up and they aren't freshmen anymore. But they know that we lean on them heavy, and that's why they're always in the gym. They stay ready so they don't have to get ready, and we're just excited to go play great hoop.
So again, we kind of, tend to want to ask the younger guys, are you nervous? This is younger, it's your first time. Are you nervous?
I wouldn't say I'm nervous. I'm excited. I'm ready. That's really where I'm at. I don't know about nervousness. I don't know.
All right, he's ready, guys. Back to y'all in the studio.
Exactly what it looked like the second the Idaho Vandal men found out they'd be traveling to Oklahoma City as a 15 seed taking on the 2 seed Houston. Moscow is rocking tonight. Let's check in with Noah Schmidt continuing our drive for the title coverage down there, and big reaction there. Good to see you, Noah.
Yeah, good to see you, Sean. Right now I'm here with the redshirt sophomore guard for the Vandals, Colton Mitchell. Also Coeur d'Alene kid, Colton Mitchell. Colton, just tell me a little bit about seeing you guys up on the board and having to play the 2 seed Houston, but mostly just tell me about what it was like seeing the Idaho Vandals on that Selection Sunday board.
Yeah, no, it was amazing being able to see our name pop up and the anticipation. We were the last pick on the board, so much anticipation, lots of heart rates going up, so it was pretty cool.
Tell me a little bit about, did you ever think when you were at Lake City with, I know we saw Blake Buchanan and his team with Iowa State, you were kind of wondering if you'd see them. We also saw the Gonzaga matchup possibly, but to play against Houston, did you think when you were a kid in Lake City, this is something I'm going to be able to do?
Yeah, this was always the dream for me. Whenever I really fell in love with the sport of basketball, was I really wanted to play in March Madness and the NCAA tournament. But, it's always some doubts, am I really going to be able to make it? I'm working so hard for this goal. But now that I've accomplished it and I'm so excited to be able to play Thursday, it's a dream come true.
Tell me, during the regular season, you guys had stretches where you were brilliant and then some stretches where it was a little bit down. But to end the season with a 5-game win streak and win the Big Sky tournament, are you guys playing your best basketball heading into March Madness?
Yeah, I think we're playing our best basketball of the year, but it's still not what our team is capable of. We haven't been shooting the ball well at all in the conference tournament. We shot terribly from the three-point line, and we're a very good three-point shooting team. So if we can, make some adjustments and get some confidence going into this tournament and make some shots, I think we'll be in a good spot.
Head coach Alex Pribble, he kind of told us there's something special about this group. What do you think is the special ingredient? What's the key to your guys' success in making it here?
I think it's the brotherhood that we've built. We're all very close off the court. We're all best friends, and we're also not afraid to really get on each other, especially in the game, just because we all know we want to win, and it comes from a place of love. A lot of people, some teams, they don't really like each other, and it's all business. But this team really loves each other, and I think that's why we're able to be successful.
All right, let's talk about the matchup. You're playing against Houston and Kelvin Sampson. So much history with that team. Are you excited with a really good defensive team, too?
No, I'm super excited. Whenever you get a chance to play a top team in the country, it's an unbelievable opportunity. And, they got great players. Kingston Fleming's probably a lottery pick this year in the draft. So, how else would you want it to be able to go to a tournament?
Well, with a very excited Colton Mitchell, I'm Noah Schmidt. We'll go ahead and send it back to you guys.
All right, Noah, thank you very much. Let's head back over to Austin now. And, we're getting the reaction from the players, Austin, and obviously we'll probably hear from the coaches at some point. But basically, they just are happy to be in the tournament and playing. It doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't matter who you play against. You play your game. That's how you win tournament games.
Absolutely, Sean. We were just talking about that. John and I were. You see the players so happy. You see the celebration. What you don't see is in the back of the room, the managers and assistant coaches sprinting out to wherever they can get footage on this team. John, talk a little bit about that, about what the next 24, 48 hours is going to look like for these teams, because you have to get travel plans ready, but you also want to get a couple practices and, most importantly, get a scout on these opponents.
Yeah, everybody's working behind the scenes to book travel, to get hotels, all that kind of stuff. The coaches are usually dividing and conquering. So you'll have one coach who's getting the first game, Kennesaw State, that's probably Stephen Gentry or RJ Barsh, and the other side, the other one's getting at least BYU. Then you got Michelson somewhere in there getting, what about if Texas wins? And so you're trying to scout kind of all the potential algorithm here. But then you're getting the team ready. And usually for that first game, thankfully for Gonzaga as a higher seed, you don't necessarily have to go into as much depth about your first opponent, but you just want to play your best basketball. So the challenge here is how do you scout and be ready for that team, knowing that could change down the line?
Right.
And there's always a walkthrough. Gonzaga's had about a week off, so they're trying to keep some momentum going and maybe get a good sweat. Some of these other teams that just came off a conference championship, they got to get some rest, and it's more about walkthroughs and X's and O's in the screen.
Yeah, and it's something that Sean just mentioned. You get here, you're unfamiliar opponents. At the end of the day, there's always going to be a game plan, but you have to play your game. What have you seen from Gonzaga? We'll talk about Idaho in a minute as well, but what have you seen from Gonzaga this season that is an indicator when you look at them, when you watch, say, a 4-minute snippet, you're saying they're playing their best basketball tonight?
Yeah, this team really hangs its hat on defense, which hasn't always been the thing for Gonzaga. We know that they can score, and they have really for years under few, but this team can really get out and pressure their opponent. And that's great in the tournament, because that means even if you're having a tough shooting night or if you're playing a different kind of opponent, you can still impose your will. So that's a first starter. The big game changer for Gonzaga and the difference between maybe a first or second round versus a Final Four is, can they shoot the three? Mm-hmm. Because if you can shoot the three, not only are you hitting threes and you can extend leads, it opens up space for guys like Ike and then the Tyons and the Worleys and the Marios to drive. If that is all clogged up because nobody has to worry about the three-point line, it's going to be tough for GU.
I would say the same thing for Idaho. Like, their strength relies on three-point shooting. And Colton Mitchell admitted it. They did not shoot it well down in Boise for their conference tournament. But Colton Mitchell, Biko Johnson, so many guys that could shoot the three really well. Isaiah Brickner, another one that comes to mind. As here you see a look at some of those highlights from Boise. This is a Vandal team that, they're not going to have, I think, the size, maybe some of the athletic qualities of Houston.
There's some athletic quality.
Exactly. Isaiah Brickner making me look silly. But a team that is not, I don't want to say overly reliant on three-point shooting, but it's a big factor of their game plan, always can be dangerous in March Madness. Because you have a team that comes out and they shoot 8 of 10 from three in the first half, and all of a sudden, no matter what the other seed is, they're in trouble.
You're not going to see an upset in this tournament from a team that hasn't hit a three. Mm-hmm. I mean, three-pointers is going to be a big part of it. You got to be able to hit free throws. You got to be able to make some turnovers and get some momentum going. And more than anything, March Madness is about runs. Is your run a run of 4 or 5, or is it 8 or 9? Because the other team's going to come back with a run of their own, and if you can hit threes, you can make a run and do a dent, and they just want to stay close. If they can stay close in the end, Houston will feel a little tight, and that's when then you never know what'll happen.
I think when you talk about Gonzaga and Idaho on the men's side, and again, we'll fold in the coverage of the women's selection show coming up, that bracket release show starting in about a half hour, and we'll mix in with Lisa Fortier and Arthur Moreira's teams as well. But when you talk about the head coaches of these two schools on the men's side, Gonzaga's Mark Few, Idaho's Alex Pribble, two different stories, but I think two very cool stories. Of course, Mark Few, you have the dynastic run, 27 straight NCAA tournaments, taking over the program and immediately taking it to success. On the other side, you have Alex Pribble, who has taken an Idaho team who had not made the NCAA tournament since 1990. On the way back, after an up and down year, they bared down. They played their best basketball maybe not their best basketball. They would say they could play better, but they played winning basketball at their conference tournament to get here. I just think that's so cool because, when you have, this coaching albatross in Mark Few around all the other area coaches, sometimes the really inspiring stories get maybe a little bit snuffed out. But I want to give credit to Alex Pribble and what he has done with the Vandals this year.
Yeah, Pribble started at Eastern.
Yes, he did.
Right? Went over to Seattle University. I mean, he's made his way around and kind of earned his stripes. And, you have to credit Few a little bit in that, too. The community of coaches in this area. Kelvin Sampson, who's going to go up against at Houston, they all have ties back to the inland Northwest. And you've got some good coaches coming out of this area, maybe some unsung coaches, and it's fun to give them a chance to show their stuff on the national stage.
Absolutely. Going to be a lot more fun conversation coming up here, especially when we get to talking to the women's team. For now, though, Sean, I'll send it back over to you.
All right, thanks, Austin and John. Great stuff, great insight into the matchup before tip-off. And let's take you back to Jack and Dan's now. Noah Bolter on the move in the Gonzaga district, and a staple that has been there for so very long. Basically, when the infancy of the Zags tournament dominance started way back when. Let's check in with Noah now.
Well, Sean, we're making our way around Gonzaga. You mentioned it at Jack and Dan's right now. And we found a Zag fan, Ricky Shine. So, Ricky, talk to us. We got the bracket right here. You watched the reveal. How you feeling about Gonzaga men's and the 3 seed?
I think Gonzaga is going to do a really good job. I think if Gonzaga makes it all the way, it's going to be because of Mark Few's going to really put the hammer down on them and make them react and make them strong and make them come out fighting.
Okay, what's your confidence level that they make it back to the Sweet 16?
I think they're going to, 100%. I think 100% they're going to make it back to the Sweet 16, and I want to see them make it to the Final Four.
And what's your confidence level that they're going to win it all?
I would hope that they win it all, and if EK hangs in there and does a great job like he's been doing, and Mark Few pushes the whole team to doing their best and staying strong, I think we'll make it all the way.
Sean, I'm starting to sense a high confidence level here in Spokane for the Gonzaga Bulldogs basketball team, both men and women, by the way. But specifically what we're talking about right now, the men's team, just a lot of confidence heading into this tournament. Sean?
You know, that's what 3 decades of making the NCAA tournament builds there. That confidence that this team is excellent and they can compete with virtually anybody. And Noah, love Jack and Dan's there. Say hi to Kevin, the owner. Tell him to take care of you.
Will do, Sean. Will do. I'm going to name drop you so we get something free.
I don't know about that. Maybe a soda or something. All right. Noah Bolter there at Jack and Dan's. So much fun right now. And, you know, we've taken you to the kennel. We've taken you down to Idaho, the team's reaction. And we are now a short time away for the Gonzaga women and the Idaho women to find out their tournament journeys. And we will take a break here. Our drive for the title coverage continues in a minute. I'm Sean Owsley. And welcome back. Drive for the Title coverage rolls on. I want to take you back down to the kennel and AJ.
Guys, we're back here with Mario Sansupetti. Of course, this is your first time here experiencing this. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I'm really excited. You know, my team has been telling me how big this thing is, and I'm just super excited. You know,
a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's early. I'm hearing that the Owls play fast. That's what all the guys have said so far. How do you kind of prepare, knowing that going into this matchup?
Well, it's what we just talked in the locker room. You know, they're the winners of their conference. That means they're a very good team, and as my other team has told you, they play at a really fast pace. Then we just gotta be ready for it. You know.
Absolutely. You know, for them, it's their second ever appearance in the NCAA tournament. That can carry a lot of emotion. How do you guys, you know, make sure that you guys don't get overly emotional and do what what you normally do?
Well, obviously, as I told you, they're a great team, and I think they're gonna give their 100%, and we just gotta face it like every other game. You know, we just gotta go play great defense, play great offense, and get the win.
So obviously you are one of the players that's really just had like standout performances, coming in and immediately making an impact. Do you feel that pressure now that people might expect that out of you?
Well, there's always expectations, you know, but I feel I'm a person, I really like the pressure, you know. I like to play with pressure. That makes me give my best, and I think that's what's going to happen in the tournament.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mario.
Thank you so much.
Guys, back to you.
All right, AJ, thank you very much. So we've been setting the scene. Now let's go back to Austin and John.
All right, Sean, thank you. Yeah, we're waiting to hear from Noah Schmick and Dennis Patchen actually down in Moscow, getting ready to hear from the Idaho Vandals. Mark Few is also talking at the moment, and we will bring you that in just a minute. But as we talk about this, I think about a guy like Mario. Growing up overseas, who knows how much NCAA tournament basketball he got to see depending on where he was at. He was playing probably a lot at the same time, and now he gets to play in the NCAA tournament. Those stories are so cool. I mean, there have been a lot of Gonzaga players who've played in 3, 4, some even 5 NCAA tournaments, but the guys that are going to play for the first time, that is so cool.
That's why it's such a blessing for Gonzaga to have some veteran leadership who can sit them down and explain to them, here's what you're going to see, here's what it's going to feel like, because it's different. It's just different. Mario came from Malaga in Spain and actually played with Domantas Sabonis at one point, kind of growing up there. And so there's some family ties. He will have heard about this, but nothing is quite like playing in it. And but to have a guy like Ike and have some of the veteran leaderships like Smith, who's going to be a backcourt mate for him, who can say, this is what you're going to experience, this is what it's going to be like, is a game changer for performance and just to calm some nerves.
How much do you think that kind of experience helps for the NCAA tournament? When you have a guy like a Graham Ike who's played in multiple NCAA tournaments at Gonzaga, or even a Tyon Grant Foster who maybe not at Gonzaga but has played in the tournament. You know, you always hear about senior leading teams, veteran teams. Well, Gonzaga, if you go by average age, is about as veteran as they get. Yeah. How much do you think that can help them where maybe the moment isn't going to make them starstruck?
It's big. It's really big. If you look at the upsets or even the teams that win championships, there's always a star player in there, and they may be a freshman, a phenom, but there's leadership as well. And you don't see a team that goes a long way in the tournament without having some seniors, at least some upperclassmen. And it doesn't have to always be the guy who scores all the points who's a leader, but it's somebody on the court who everybody trusts, who can calm each other down. Mark Few's done this a couple times too.
Yes.
As has his assistants who played for GU, most of them. And so that helps where they've got an idea what to experience. And it's the little things sometimes. It's the place we're going to eat or the hotel we've stayed at before that helps teams to calm down. Portland is a familiar city to go to for Gonzaga. They'll probably stay at the same hotel that they do when they play against the Pilots.
Absolutely. Experience pays dividends in the NCAA tournament. Sean, I'll send it back over to you.
All right, Austin and John, great stuff. Let's head back to the kennel and check back in with AJ, continuing our team drive for the title coverage. AJ.
That's right, Sean. Head coach Mark Few taking the podium to talk about this first round matchup, and we're going to listen in now.
What was the vibe in the room like when you guys heard the pregame? Oh, I mean, I don't know if it's the 3 seed. It's just everybody's excited for this day. It's a culmination of, all the work we put in all the way since late June, and just the anticipation and the excitement of seeing your name pop up. So it's always great to see it. I never take that for granted. I got a lot of buddies in the profession that, and a lot of acquaintances that are sitting at home watching that with their seasons over. So I know I never take it for granted, and it's definitely the greatest day of the year in the profession for me.
Do you have a secret to keeping to not taking that for granted every year?
I just don't. I understand how hard it is to get to the NCAA tournament. It's really, really hard. There's a bunch of really damn good players that aren't playing in this thing. There's a bunch of great coaches. There's probably some Hall of Fame coaches that aren't playing in this thing, and I mean it's a absolute gift, and it's earned. I mean, you got to earn it. You got to earn it for a long, hard slog stretch, and obviously with everything we were through with all the injuries and stuff this year, I mean these guys deserve a ton of credit just for getting to this point, let alone earning a 3 seed. First glance at Kennesaw State, they look like they want to get up and down. Yeah, they do. I think, just talking to people, they're worked with Nate at Alabama. So, I mean, I would expect a very similar style to Alabama to get up and down and shoot threes, offensive rebound, and apply pressure on the basketball, 94 feet. And it sounds like they got a lot of different guys that can score and different nights, somebody else is leading them in scoring. They're on a nice run right now. I think they've run 7 or 8 out of 9 or 10, and playing their best ball. So those teams are dangerous.
Is there a difference in comfort level?
I don't know about comfort level. I think it's a lot easier, obviously, travel-wise, on our bodies for time, for just familiarity. It's so easy, and most of all, just when it comes down to these first and second round sites, it's just for your fans, and families and all that, and getting there. So, obviously, that'll be an easy trip for us. People talk about NCAA experienced players and guard play in the tournament. And you kind of seen that over the years, the importance of those two things. Yeah, I have to think about how much experience we have. I mean, Graham's got experience. I'm trying to think who else. Yeah, I mean, a little bit. Yeah, so that's a good point. Tyon has some experience, obviously, and so, yeah. I mean, I think the culture of our program and the fact our staff has been through a lot of this, and we got this particular day down pat, and we're pretty organized, pretty efficient with that. It'll do nothing but help. But again, guys, at the end of the day, you get in that game, you just got to make plays. All the teams in this thing are good teams. They either had incredible years like we did all year, or they got hot and won their conference tournament. So they're really dangerous there. So everybody earned their way into this thing, and then now it comes down to just making plays, getting stops and making plays.
Coach, that last 10 minutes against Santa Clara, you guys were so solid on defense, and had the freshmen step up. How much can that carry over now, and how much does that help?
I mean, I think the competition that we've received within this league, lately has really, really helped. I mean, it's really stepped up. I think it's really nice to see that we got 3 teams in, because we deserve to get 3 teams in, and we didn't do it the kind of the backhanded way where somebody else won the league, and I mean, we had 2 teams that didn't win get at-larges, so I think that's speaks to our strength of those 3 teams, and again, just being challenged by those teams. Obviously, you guys know the non-conference schedule we play, and so all of that should hopefully prepare us for what's to come.
All right, head coach Mark Few with more to say as well. We're in the process right now of posting his full comments, the full interview and press conference on our website. That's swxlocalsports.com. But for now, back to you, Sean.
All right, AJ, great stuff there. And Coach Mark Few, same as it ever was, back into the tournament, facing an opponent in calm and measured and evaluating the process already. That's why he's been excellent for so long. Appreciate the coach and access to him, his thoughts on the tournament. Our drive for the title coverage continues, and shortly we should learn where the Gonzaga women and the Idaho women will land in the NCAA tournament. We're back in a minute. Welcome back. Our drive for the title coverage continues. Want to head back down to Moscow, Idaho, in about as continuous and realistic as the Zags making the tournament every year is Dennis Patchen covering the tournament. He's with Noah Schmick right now. Good to see you both.
Yeah, good to see you, Sean. We've got, of course, Idaho men's play-by-play announcer Dennis Patchen, as well as former sports director Dennis Patchen here. Dennis, just tell us a little bit about the Idaho men. I know their season was a lot of ups and downs during the regular season, but to finish on a 5-game win streak, just, I mean, they've got to be playing their best basketball heading into the big dance.
They certainly are. In fact, the longest winning streak they had before the conference tournament was 2 games this season, and now they've won 5 in a row, including 4 in 5 days, playing with a lot of confidence. But you're going to need that when you play a team like Houston. Kelvin Sampson gets his teams ready, and if you've lived in our area for a long time, you don't need to know Kelvin Sampson's teams are going to play out. They're going to play tough. They're going to play hard. The Vandals are going to have their hands full.
What have the Idaho men done well to get to this point? I mean, for a while there, we weren't sure if they, obviously, even before the tournament started, we weren't sure if they were going to make it. But to win and get in, how did they do it?
First 30 games, they didn't play much defense. They outshot people. The last 5 games of the season, including the win at Eastern Washington at the end of the regular season, played lights-out defense, best defense of the year, winning games they may not have won had they had that.
Well, we're got to get Dennis back over there to talk with the Idaho women, because Idaho women, their bracket's coming up. We got to talk a little bit about that as well. But Dennis, you kind of do everything. You got to do the Idaho men's play-by-play. You got to announce the Idaho women coming up here. So we got to get Dennis out of here.
And I got to hang out with you too.
That's perfect. We'll send it back to you, Sean.
Oh, great stuff. Great to see you both. And, we're imminent to find out where the Gonzaga women, the Idaho Vandal women, will land in the tournament. That's coming up in our next hours. Our drive for the title coverage rolls on. It's tournament time. Well, if it is Selection Sunday, you know we have in-depth team drive for the title coverage. Welcome back to our coverage as we are now an hour in. I'm Sean Owsley alongside Austin Getz. Let's reset the stage for you. The Gonzaga men, the Idaho men know where they're playing. They know who they're playing. The women, well, they should be finding that out here in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, the Women's Selection Sunday show beginning right now, which means the brackets will be coming out minute by minute. As soon as we know where the Gonzaga women and the Idaho women are at, we will let you know. But where we do know is where the Zags and Vandal men are heading. For the GU men, they will be going to Portland, staying close to home. As a number 3 seed, they will be taking on 14 seed Kennesaw State. For the Vandals, it's a bit of a longer trip, but not as far as some of the teams are traveling in this tournament. They are heading to Oklahoma City, and as the 15 seed, will be the number 2 seed in the tournament, taking on Houston. But Sean, you talk about this the Zag men team. The streak continues. We knew that they would be in. No drama for them on Selection Sunday, not only being the WCC champions, but having the at-large bid locked up before that. It's truly, again, it's one of the most unbelievable stories in all of sports. A small school in rural eastern Washington, almost 3 decades straight of the NCAA tournament appearances, not to mention Sweet 16s. These aren't just one-off, one-weekend trips.
And if you look at the big picture, they built a culture. So it doesn't matter where you're at. If you have a great culture that breeds success, players will want to come. And that's what we have at Gonzaga University. Head coach Mark Few and his staff saying, come here, we will take care of you. We strive for excellence. And they've proven that year in and year out. They've gone very far in the tournament, even to the title game, and several Sweet 16s, Elite 8 runs. And you have to play the games. And when you get into these tournaments, a lot of these teams, especially the upper tier seeds, Austin, these are teams that can win it all. They are very evenly matched. So it really comes down to X's and O's, how prepared you are, how you're coached, what the attack plan is on these games.
There's so many variables that can fall to help or hurt a team's chances. Obviously, how they play is the biggest one. You have to control what you can control, which is how you play. But if you're a Gonzaga, let's say you beat Kennesaw State and BYU, who's a team that has maybe the best player in college basketball, let's say they get stunned in the first round. All of a sudden, you don't have to play that. Let's say you look further down the line and you have a Purdue team that you would face in the Sweet 16 if you won your first 2 games and Purdue won their first 2 games, a team Gonzaga has never beaten, 0-5 all-time against Purdue, including a loss in the NCAA tournament. Let's say the Boilermakers aren't there. Go even further, you have Arizona and Tommy Lloyd in this West region as the number 1 seed. Obviously, right. If you face them in the Elite 8, you're going to face a good team no matter what. But say the Wildcats don't make it. There's so many things, so many twists and turns the NCAA tournament can take. It is so incredibly hard to win 6 loser-out games in a row against the best teams in college basketball. It's the hardest championship to win in any of sports because you are playing every weekend. You're playing twice in 3 days, and you're playing the best teams in the sport.
It's fantastic, and that's I've covered it and watched it and been on the road to cover the Gonzaga team many years. When they play those games, there's just an electricity all around the game, around the tournament, around the team. So you mentioned kind of what's in front of the Gonzaga men here and some of the teams that could potentially be on that road map to ultimately what they want, their goal, a championship. Let's come back to the team itself. As we've seen them overcome adversity, big injuries to key players, what have you viewed from a 40,000-foot view of this team, the cohesiveness, trying to adapt to all of the things that have been thrown at them, yet here they are again, tournament time?
I think this is Mark Few's best coaching job in a long time. Not to say he doesn't do a great job every year, but having to handle all that, having to lose at the time your leading scorer and not really miss a beat from there, having to deal with a very good top of the WCC and 2 teams that can really challenge you in St. Mary's and Santa Clara, who also made the NCAA tournament, by the way, today at-large bids, so a 3-bid WCC. Having to deal with, leaving one conference, getting ready to join a new conference as they go to the Pac-12 next year. All that, and you come here and you play 2 excellent games in Vegas to lock up the WCC title, you knew you were in no matter what. But that probably helped your seed line. If they had lost one of those games at the WCC tournament, they are probably not a 3 seed. They are definitely not in Portland.
Well, I know head coach Few and the team, they don't need any extra motivation. They know what they're doing. But I do think, they had a couple of losses this year, which is a little bit unusual for the way they normally run the regular season. Does that change their headspace at all, do you think?
I don't think so. I think this team knows that, the losses they had to St. Mary's, Michigan, and yes, the Portland one, anything can happen on any given night, but they can also beat anybody. You think back to, how this team played early in the season against the Kentuckys and the Creightons, and yeah, they didn't have as good a season as you thought they would at the start, but this is a team that when everything is firing, it's beautiful basketball. They can beat anybody in this tournament. They can lose to anybody in this tournament.
All right, we should be finding out here in a matter of minutes with Gonzaga women, the Idaho women will land in the NCAA tournament. I know you're going to rejoin John Billings over there. Great insight to the matchups, and it's so much fun, and love to cover numerous teams in the tournament as the women's bracket is being revealed right now. Austin, I'll break you free from this studio, head back over there. I'll be back over to you and John in a minute. But we have teams planted all over in the kennel, down in Moscow, Idaho, and we have Noah Bolter in the Gonzaga district. Noah, how we look? I understand you moved to yet a new location.
Sean, we're making the rounds. We're at Logan's Tavern right now. I found a couple Zag fans over here, pretty excited about this potential tournament run. We got AJ, we got Travis. AJ, I'm holding in front of me how the bracket worked out in Gonzaga's region. Take the phone, take a look at that, and take us through your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, BYU has AJ and everything, but, we got the best record, so, you know what I'm saying?
Confidence level is high, and then you look at that bigger seed down there, Purdue, and on the top side of the bracket, you got Arizona. How you feeling about some of those higher seeds than Gonzaga?
Man, good for them, but we're still not worried about all that. You know what I mean? It's Zags all day, so.
Confidence level is high. Let's go to Travis. Travis, you've been a Zag fan for a while. Talk to us. Where your confidence level, scale of 1 to 10?
9. We've always pulled through. They make us stress out in Spokane, but they always do a great job. We're very proud of our Zags, and we just love to support.
Just very excited. There, lots of optimism, Sean. That's the message I've got. We've got the Geno's Pizza and Pub. We've got the Jack and Dan's now. Now at Logan's Tavern, we got 2 Zags fans here. Just confidence, and I didn't get a 1 to 10 from you, AJ.
Man, 11, man. Go Zags, baby. We already know what's going to happen. Let's get it.
11 plus 9 together, there are 20 out of 20. Live in Spokane, Noah Bolter, NonStop Local.
Yeah, I love the 11. All right, Noah, great stuff. Appreciate them and sharing that. A lot of people enthusiastic. This time of year is just second to none. Our drive for the title coverage continues. In fact, when we come back, we should know where the Gonzaga women and the Idaho women will be playing in the NCAA tournament. Back in a minute. You're watching Drive for the Title coverage on SWX. And welcome back to all of you joining us here on SWX and streaming through our website. I'm Sean Alsey. Our drive for the title coverage. We know where both men's teams from our area, Gonzaga and Idaho, are playing. In fact, we are just minutes away from finding out where the Gonzaga women will land and the Idaho women's teams. That has not been announced, but it is imminent. Let's go back to Austin and John.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. A little bit of insider knowledge for anybody who isn't familiar. We are literally watching a feed right now, waiting to see the Gonzaga women and Idaho women's names being called. They are about one region into the reveal show. So, John, while we talk about this, and they're anxiously waiting, what do you think the emotions are for these two teams? Because here's another situation. You have the Idaho women who have a little bit more recent history. Nobody on this team, 2016 the last time they went. On the other hand, you have a Gonzaga women's team who is probably feeling a lot better than they were at this time last year, because you remember last year they missed the tournament after making the 7 previous and are set to return. So, on one hand, you have almost like an unfinished business, revenge on the mind kind of watch party, and on the other hand, you have we're so excited we haven't done this in a decade.
Well, last year Gonzaga they had a watch party where their name wasn't called, and just tugs at your heartstrings. This year they took care of business, got the retribution against Oregon State, who knocked them out last year. So a whole different experience to have a watch party when you know you're going to be called at some point, rather than hoping with fingers crossed. But remember, Lauren Whitaker, Allie Turner, they haven't been to the tournament before. Right. They made a deep run in a kind of an alternative NIT type tournament for the women last year, but yeah, a whole different thing to get in the big dance.
And think about this, the last time the Zag women were in the tournament, they were on their home floor for the first 2 games. That year in 2024, they were a 4 seed, got to host the first 2 games in the kennel before going to Portland. Seems that everything comes back to Portland. Yeah. They, as well as the Idaho women, know they will be out on the road. Now, if you're not familiar, there is a little bit of a difference between the men's and the women's tournament. You have, on the men's side, there are predetermined locations. Oklahoma City, Portland, Buffalo, Tampa. Those were announced months, if not years in advance. On the women's side, the way they do the first weekend is that the high seed in your little bracket pool of 4 teams host. That's why in 2024, when the Gonzaga women were the 4 seed, they got to host 2 games on their home floor. In the past, Gonzaga has gone to Louisville. They have gone to Stanford. In the past, the Idaho women have had to go against UConn over in Stores. So, it's very different because you're going to a place, there could be a place you have played at in the past, but you just have to wait and see.
Upsets still happen, but nowhere nearly as much because the high seeds got that home crowd advantage. And sometimes Gonzaga's been lucky enough to get to the second week, and Spokane's such a wonderful venue for the women's basketball crowds that they still got it in a home game. Yeah. And that's where you see the upsets against maybe the top seeds, or when they almost knocked off Tennessee as well.
Yeah, so, you go back to that 2011 Elite 8 run. You played your first 2 games at home, and then you played your next 2 at the Spokane Arena 5 miles away.
Couldn't get any better. And you said in that 2 different venues, playing on the road at somebody's actual gym is very different from playing on a neutral site, even if all the crowd is there.
Well, I can tell you this. In 2022, the Gonzaga women were an 8 seed. They went to 1 seed Louisville. In their first round matchup, they took down number 9 Nebraska. And actually, just some breaking news right now, just announced the Gonzaga women are a 12 seed, and they will be taking on Ole Miss. That will be in Minneapolis, as Minnesota is the 4 seed. So you've got Gonzaga women. They are heading to Minneapolis, and they will take on Ole Miss. We'll update you more going on. But the Zag women are going out on the road. Now you have a date. Now you have a location. Now you have a team that you're going to be playing.
On Friday. So men will play Thursday. The women will play Friday. Now they can start the process of getting after it and taking a look. Ole Miss, coming from the SEC. You've always got size. You've got interior play. You've got athleticism that you don't necessarily see in the WCC conference. So a different makeup, but Gonzaga can play with anybody. I mean, this team really has dynamic scoring ability. Got an inside-outside punch. And Lauren Whitaker is as good as any freshman in the nation. In fact, if they make it past the first few rounds, I wouldn't be surprised to see her named Freshman of the Year for the entire nation. So it'll be impactful to see her play against kind of size and ability that maybe she hasn't seen all season, and interesting to see how they play out.
Yeah, some seed history for Gonzaga as we're still waiting to hear from Idaho where they are headed. But, you know, the Zags have been a 12 seed 3 times before, including their first 2 trips to the NCAA tournament back in 2007 and 2009. Most recently, they were a 12 seed in 2013 games they hosted at the McCarthy Athletic Center. So the Selection Sunday show rolls on as we continue to wait to hear for the Idaho Vandal women and where they are headed. We will bring that to you in a little bit. For Sean, for now, we'll send it back over to you.
All right, Austin and John, great stuff. As we now know, the Gonzaga women are heading to Minneapolis there. All right, Belle Lewis is crunching the numbers for you. Whoever you're following, men's teams, women's teams, wherever they're going, she's crunching the numbers if you want to travel, if you want to support them in person right now. You're going to be working on that Minneapolis trip for the Gonzaga women, which was just revealed in our coverage. Right now, you're talking about the Idaho Vandal men going to OKC.
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. Of course, we covered Gonzaga, the prices you can be looking to pay, but now we turn to Oklahoma City and the Vandals. It's farther for sure. So let's go ahead and take a look at those prices. On your screen now, you can see that trip by car. You're looking at much larger drive times, about 24 hours. You're going to have to get gas. We know that the average is sitting around about $5.50. Now let me go ahead and advance that for you to planes. This is ticket prices, and of course the fly time depends on the price. We're sitting at just around $5.50 to $6.50 for that round trip, but then of course those prices are variable. But let's also take a look at hotels. Now they're a little bit more expensive per night than in Portland, depending on where you are and how close you want to be to the stadium. You could be looking at about $150 to about $210 a night, which is not bad, but again, those prices could jump. And now let's take a look at ticket prices. That first round sitting at $70.50, $160.20 for the second round. And don't worry, I know that if you're traveling all this way, you're going to want to make a trip out of it. I also looked at what you should do while you're in Oklahoma City. There is a Cloud Embrace statue downtown that's just been revealed. That's free. You get a chance to look around downtown, which I always enjoy when I'm there to watch basketball or just hanging out in a new city. And then of course food. There is the Mickey Mantle's Steakhouse, which is pretty expensive, but I've heard really good things about. Now this is exciting for the Vandals. They could be headed to San Jose if they make it past the first 2 rounds. The plane tickets for that running just under $1,000, and then of course those ticket prices could be jumping as well. But don't worry, I am going to be looking into the Gonzaga women now, breaking down those numbers, so that way if you want to go and support women's basketball, you know just how much it's going to cost you.
All right, everything Belle just told you about Idaho, she's about to go do for the trip to Minneapolis. If you want to follow the Gonzaga women, Belle, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our drive for the title coverage rolls on. Should find out about the Idaho women and where they're going in just a minute. We're taking a break. Glad all of you are with us as you are waiting to see where your team's going, or you've just learned within the last hour and a half where exactly your favorite team has landed in the NCAA tournament. Let's take it back over to Austin and John.
All right, Sean, thank you. Yeah, we had just minutes ago found out that the Gonzaga women are heading to Minneapolis. They are a 12 seed in the Sacramento 2 regional Sacramento 2, however you say that. But they will be taking on 5 seed Ole Miss. That game coming up on Friday. We are still waiting to hear where the Idaho women are headed as they continue the bracket reveal. For now, though, while we're waiting to hear from the Idaho women, let's actually send it back down to Moscow and hear from the Idaho men. Here was men's basketball head coach Alex Pribble remarking after he found out that his team is headed to Oklahoma City to take on 2 seed Houston.
Yeah, you know, when you talk about this team in particular, the guys give me trouble about it sometimes because from the start of the year, I keep saying I love this team. There's something special about this team. You know, just being around the game for as long as I have been, you get a sense when a team has the right kind of character, the right kind of work ethic, the right kind of habits. And these guys, they're experienced, they're mature, they're competitive. Again, they're about the right things. And so we felt great about this team since the summer. And the year was kind of up and down, you know, and they had to be a resilient group. They had to stick together. They had to stay with the process, and it clicked at the right time for us. So to do it with this group of guys who are just such hard workers, you know, they set records in the classroom, and now they get to have a championship on the court. It's just, it's what college basketball should be about. So it's special, you know, to do it the year that we're honoring Coach Munson means so much as well, because I've learned more about the tradition and the history of Vandal basketball this year than I have since I've been here. And so it's a special group, it's a special year, and you know, it's been a great journey.
Indeed, and I think something that was so cool that you heard from Coach Pribble there, John, is he talked about, you know, this moment, this is what college sports is about. This is the best of college sports. There's a lot of negatives that can be said about college athletics right now, and I'm sure a few headaches that Coach Pribble wouldn't mind sharing. But when you get to this point and you see your team celebrating, going on to take on a team that nobody is going to consider, you know, you have a chance beating, and none of that matters because you have put in the work and you are going to the NCAA tournament.
You know, I'm sure he's been stressing out stuff to the team for months now, right? From day one about the value of this gym session, the value of getting good sleep, the value of eating right, value of, you know, always blocking out. And then to have it pay off, it's just a game changer. And for a coach to be able to stress this to his team and get a chance to kind of say, hey, it does pay off and it proves all of what we've said was worth it, is pretty special.
No easier time to get a team into the gym and get them extra conditioning when you could say, hey, we did it last time, we made it to the NCAA tournament.
And look, it's such an important program builder. Now you can look and say, we are an NCAA tournament team. I mean, I know when I went to look at what school I was going to go to, it started with what was the last tournament like. And to get your team on this floor and this stage is something he can start to build upon.
Well, while we wait for the Idaho women to learn their fate, let's look at the bracket for the Gonzaga women, which came out minutes ago. Again, the Zags are heading to Minneapolis to take on Ole Miss. Again, they will head to where the 4-seed Minneapolis is hosting. It'll be 5-seed, the Rebels, versus 12-seed Gonzaga. Now, this is actually a rematch of an NCAA tournament game a couple years ago. In 2023, the Zags went to Stanford, who was hosting that year, and lost to Ole Miss. So while there might not be too much continuity on the roster player to player, you know Lisa Fortier and her staff has that loss in mind and want to go, you know, pull a 12 over 5.
Yeah, we talked earlier about with the men's team, who's scouting who and how we're working this whole plan together. You know that you've got your first game. That's the most important one. You're putting all of your attention there first. It's a big advantage that Lisa Fortier's staff has been together for 12-plus years.
Which is unheard of, and have not lost any of the core assistant coaches. There have been, you know, coaches
when you're that
come,
good, they get plucked, right?
Unbelievable.
They go to another program. That hasn't happened with this group. And when you're in this back-to-back kind of game situations or a quick turnaround, having that cohesion so that you don't have to explain to each other what you're thinking about is a massive advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about, you know, the Gonzaga women who are building a history of their own in the NCAA tournament. Like we said, before they missed out last year, they had made 7 straight. They have been higher seeds and have fallen victim to the upset, but they have also been the lower seed and pulled upsets, made Sweet 16, Elite 8 runs. So this is a team that's going to look at that 12 seed and why do we care? We know what we can do. We know what we can do when Allie Turner is hitting threes. Lauren Whitaker is dominating on the inside.
And that's the thing. When you think about all the time, what are the team you're cheering for as they're scouting their opponent. But what about the other side? Well, it's pretty clear Lauren Whitaker is the player they're going to try to stop. Does that give Allie Turner a few more opportunities that maybe in conference they know you shouldn't give her, but against Ole Miss they haven't experienced that, and they're reading the stats about Lauren Whitaker. Allie Turner could have a heyday over there. So it's nice to have some different attacking weapons and some players that might not get the same looks. It's so nice when you finish the conference season and you don't have to see these same faces again and again that know you through and through. So nice to get a different opponent and some fresh eyes.
Now let's talk about Idaho, because you at home might be watching and didn't tune in for a lot of the Vandals season. Maybe you didn't tune in for the Gonzaga women's or the Idaho men's, and now you just want to support all the teams from the Pacific Northwest. You want to talk about a team that is a fun to watch basketball team with maybe the most fun-havingest coach in Arthur Moreira, the first head coach of a Division I program, a first Brazilian, I should say, head coach of a Division I basketball program. The Vandals have now won, I think it's 18 straight. I'll have to check. It's either 18 or 19, but they haven't lost since, I believe it was January 10th, and ran roughshod through the Big Sky, won their conference tournament, and now they're going to have an interesting dynamic because all year long they were the top team in the Big Sky. They were the #1 team in the Big Sky Conference tournament. Now in the NCAA tournament, with whatever seed that they get, and we're still waiting to hear what that is, they are going to be the ones trying to pull the upset.
Yeah, that's a different game, right? To not have to have somebody who's stressing, and like the human element in the tournament is very real. Getting up for that first matchup, knowing you're a higher seed, I mean, it's important to everybody, but do you take that extra level of attention to the scouting report, knowing that it's a higher or a lower seed, and they'll get to benefit from that and come in a little bit under the radar. I too haven't seen these guys play a lot, but a Brazilian coach, you imagine a little bit of flair, a little bit of creativity.
They run. They play defense. They run.
And that works in the tournament, especially because, with the nerves, sometimes your shooting is not perfect. And in a bigger arena, that might be hard to see also and kind of get your depth perception. But if you can get out and run and get easy buckets, turn your opponent over, that's an advantage that you can always rely on.
One of the best rebounding teams in the country. That'll always help you. High-level players. Kira Gardner comes to mind. Lorena Barbosa, Deb Dos Santos. Really good teams. So let's recap what we know as we're still waiting for the Idaho women. I can tell you that it looks like they are going to be in the Regional 4 Fort Worth bracket, the last one to be announced, of course. Yeah. Makes for good TV. So we know the Gonzaga men are a 3 seed headed to Portland. They will face 14 seed Kennesaw State in their first round. The Idaho men are a 15 seed headed to Oklahoma City. They will take on 2 seed Houston. On the women's side, we learned within the last 20 minutes or so, the Gonzaga women are a 12 seed. They will be heading to Minneapolis, but playing Ole Miss, the 5 seed, in the first round, and we are still waiting to hear from the Idaho women. But how great is it to have 4 teams in the tournament? Last year we just had the one team, the Gonzaga men, and that's always fun no matter how many teams. But there have been years in the past where we have had multiple teams in: Gonzaga men, Gonzaga women, Eastern women, Washington State Cougar men and women. Yeah. And it's fun when you are a fan here in the home base, getting to watch all of these teams go out and go across the country and try and rep the PNW.
That's the beauty of this tournament. There's always something to get behind. I mean, you'll find yourself cheering for somebody in the Northeast that, because their grandma just passed away and this means so much to, there's just so many storylines that you get caught up in. But when you actually know them and you've been watching them for a while and you know how much it's gone into this, it's special. Idaho had to knock off Montana to get there, and so sometimes these are casualties of each other. But yeah, beautiful to see a couple teams, and cool to see the men's and the women's side for both of those universities too. I know when U of I men won their conference tournament, the women ran out at center court and celebrated with them.
It was so cool, and the Gonzaga men and women are super tight. We hear about their bond all the time as well. Just want to take you inside the curtain. This is live TV. I'm going to ask back in the control room, what do we want to go to next, guys? We'll go back to Sean Owsley, and we'll come back here to John and I in a minute when we find out where the Idaho women are headed. Sean?
right, thanks so much, gentlemen. We're going to take a break, and then when we come back, as Austin mentioned, we should learn where Idaho women will land. Back in a minute. You're watching Drive for the Title Cup. All right, breaking news in our Drive for the Title coverage. Sounds like the Idaho women are going to Norman, Oklahoma. Let's go back to Austin and John. So the men are in Oklahoma City, the women are in Norman, Oklahoma.
It's perfect. And
It's
the
a
men
great
play
scenario.
on Thursday, the women play on Friday. I will tell you, I didn't flunk geography in high school, but I don't know exactly the drive between Norman and Oklahoma City. But we do know that the Idaho women are headed to Norman. Here is a live look. They just announced it, and the party is on in Moscow. 13 seed Vandal women will be taking on the 4 seed Oklahoma Sooners in Norman. Again, that will be on the campus of the University of Oklahoma. The women's tournament for the first weekend has legitimate host sites for those first 2. But here's the thing, 13 seed Vandals, you know, you mentioned it earlier when we were talking about the men's tournament, not as many upsets on the women's side, but you look at the Gonzaga women, they've pulled the upsets. This Vandal team is dangerous. I'm telling you, if there's any, 4 over 13, if you told me right now, crystal balled it, and there was 113 that beat a 4, I would put all my money that
That's
was
where
the
you
Vandals.
circle it. Well, hey, I don't know if they're going to charter a flight, but having both go into Oklahoma, that's a nice opportunity. If you're a fan and you want to go support the Vandals, you know that you've got one place you can go.
Right.
I mean, that's going to help to make sure there's at least a little bit of a visiting crowd there at Oklahoma. And, the 4 seeds are blemished. Usually in these tournaments, especially on the women's side, the top 3 to 5 teams in the country are a level above. We know about, obviously, UConns and the Gamecocks. But if you're going against a 4 seed, that's a team you could beat. And this team's got as much of a chance as anybody.
So let's recap now that we know that the Idaho Vandal are in our whole field. And we'll start with the most recent revelation again. The Idaho women, a 13 seed. They are headed to Norman, Oklahoma to take on the 4 seed Oklahoma Sooners. That is a Friday game. The Gonzaga women are a 12 seed. They are headed to Minneapolis to take on the 5 seed Ole Miss. Again, that game in Minneapolis at the University of Minnesota. On the men's side, the Idaho men are a 15 seed. They are headed to Oklahoma City to take on 2 seed Houston. And on the other side,
that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Gonzaga's the 2. Kennesaw, I got to practice my pronunciation.
Right.
Kennesaw State is the 15.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, Gonzaga men, they are the 3 seed, and they'll be taking on Kennesaw State. That game in Portland. So there we go, all 4 teams. And a great stat that I got to give a hat tip to Grady Glover, just brought this one in. With the Idaho men and women both breaking droughts, so to say, since 2016 for the Idaho women and 1990 for the Idaho men. All of our teams here in the area, Washington State, Gonzaga, Eastern, and Idaho, both their men's and women's team have made appearances in the NCAA tournament since 2020.
You kind of take
That's
it
fantastic.
for granted. You kind of take it for granted with Gonzaga being in it so often, but there's so many programs around the country that have never been in it. I heard earlier today Nebraska's never won a game in the tournament. And you think about it from that standpoint, how special it is to be involved in it, and that everybody has is really cool.
All right, so that's what we know right now. Let's go ahead and throw it back over to you, Sean. Sean, we got 4 teams in, and we got 4 locations. Now we just got to find 4 ways to get there.
Yeah, and if you're trying to get to Minneapolis, we have some answers and some numbers for you. Belle Lewis rejoining our coverage here in Drive for the Title. Belle, what'd you learn?
Yeah, so I went ahead and took a look about getting you there just in time to see those Lady Bulldogs, I should say, play, of course. Now, I want to go ahead and take you to this graphic. It's going to show the car route from Minneapolis. The good news is about 18 hours. The bad news is that gas is still expensive. We are looking about an average, again, over that $5.50 range. So, again, you could be spending a lot of money on that gas trip. So let's go ahead and do planes, which is what I would be taking if I'm headed over there. You got a flight that, again, flight time depends on what your layovers are, but the average price is going to be somewhere just short of $1,000. You're sitting at about the $950, $975 range. And then, of course, let's get a look at those ticket prices, or excuse me, those hotel prices for you. Those hotel prices in downtown Minneapolis, you're sitting at just under $200 per night, which, I mean, I don't know downtown Minneapolis, but seems like a pretty good deal to me. Of course, we could see those spike in the near future. And then let's take you to the ticket prices. Now, Sean, we know that there's a large demand for women's basketball. We've seen stadiums sell out really fast. I'm having a hard time finding those first round ticket prices. I've seen some resellers offering it for about that $100 range for that first round. But again, it just depends on how the NCAA decides to release those tickets to see what those prices will be. So we're still waiting on those official numbers. And of course, when you're in Minneapolis, you can go ahead and check out some of the local cuisine. There's a great downtown tour that's really highly reviewed online. And of course, breaking news here just a couple seconds ago, we know where the Lady Vandals are going, and that's just 26 minutes away from where the men's team is going in Oklahoma. I broke down those numbers for you a little bit earlier, but just to recap, you're talking about around $600 for that round trip flight, a little under $200 a night for a hotel, and then those ticket prices, again, we're waiting to see what happens as those are sold. But overall, you could kind of do a 2-for-1 deal. They're playing on different days. go and see the men, then go and see the women's team, or actually flip that. I think the women are playing first, but that could be a really great weekend to support the Vandals if you are an Idaho fan.
Yeah, I'm a big Prince fan. He's from Minneapolis, so if you're going there, you got to go by Paisley Park and see the museum that is. I'm a big music guy, so
not just sports, travel tips
right,
from
yes.
the desk.
Yeah, travel show. We'll do that later. All right, Belle, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break right now on our drive for the title coverage. Much more straight ahead. Welcome back. All four of our area teams now know where they're playing and when they're playing and who they're playing against. Let's go back to Austin.
All right, Sean, thank you so much. As we heard a while ago, the Idaho women getting ready for a trip to Norman, Oklahoma to take on the Oklahoma Sooners. Right now, Arthur Marrera, head coach of the Vandals, is taking the podium in Moscow. Let's listen in as Coach gets ready for his first NCAA tournament.
You guys would be watching up and seeing your guys' names on the Selection Sunday show?
Yeah, that's the goal, right? I think we're 1 year late. When I took the job, when I got the opportunity, I always said that my goal is not to rebuild programs. We want to compete from the get-go. Last year we want to compete to the top of the conference. We're able to finish top 3, and that's what we want to do. We want to build this into a powerhouse and compete for championships every year. So I'm sorry, you guys, it took 2 years, but hopefully we can do it again next year.
When you look back at these 2 years, and even just this year to the summer, what has it taken to build this team and get to this program to the spot that it is today?
Yeah, it takes a lot of sacrifice from everybody, from staff to players, administration, to support staff. It takes people believing in the work. I thought our players from the very first practice, they were all in. That they believe in what we want to do. They believe in each other. And when you have a group that is that locked in, then special things can happen. And everybody asks about the win streak, but we never talked about it. It's just one game at a time, and we kept winning, and hopefully we can make it 19 now.
Arthur, you said that Oklahoma is fast. Are you as fast as them or not?
We'll see. They're pretty fast. I think so. We like to play that way. I think it's going to be a really fun game. The pace is going to be insane for you guys that watch our game here against Oral Roberts. It's probably going to be similar, right? But hopefully we don't lose on a bank 3. We can get it done over there. But I couldn't imagine having a game that's going to be more fun for our fans to watch in a matchup like Oklahoma.
Obviously, your season ended. Well, your regular season and somewhat postseason ended how you wanted it to. You wanted to win the Big Sky Championship, and you did that. How do you kind of reset and get ready for the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think for us, it's just going to be fun not having that pressure of being the higher seed anymore. You know, I feel like ever since we beat Montana State that first time here in Moscow, every game you go into, you're like supposed to win, right? And then this one, we come in as a lower seed, and that's when we perform the best. So I think we're going to go out there, we're going to do our best, and I guarantee you we might be one of the most dangerous 13 seeds in the tournament, you know, with the way that we played this year, our size, our athleticism. So I'm confident we're going to perform pretty well and go out there and have some fun.
Coach, with an 18-game win streak, how do you know that your team is playing its best basketball going into the big dance?
You just said it, 18 wins in a row. How do you not? You know, I think that's the biggest difference between this year and last year. We kept getting better. You know, even when we were playing in February, we kept getting better. In March, we just found different ways to win. I don't think we had our best offensive performance in the Big Sky tournament in Boise, but we still found ways to win every single game. You know, we scored well against Weber. Sac State was a grind. Montana State was a grind. We just keep finding different ways to win. I mean, in those 18 games that we won in a row, there's probably 6 or 7 of those that could have gone the other way. But our girls locked in. They executed. Like I said before, when it gets down to the fourth quarter, when it gets down to winning time, well, we perform as good as anybody have been in the country in the last 2 months. You know, and the last time we lost a game was January 10th, right? So we haven't lost it in February, in March yet. So hopefully we can keep that going.
All right, that was Noah Schmick talking to Arthur Marrera. We're actually going to send it back over to Sean Owsley, and we will have Lisa Fortier with you coming up. Sean?
All right, Austin, we're taking a break. You're watching Drive for the title coverage. And welcome back. We're about to wrap up, but we are waiting to hear from head coach Lisa Fortier and the Gonzaga women. Obviously, they know where they're heading. Let's back to Austin now in the other studio with John.
All right. Thank you, Sean, so much. I'm here with John Billings, who's been an awesome Gonzaga analyst for us, in the past, and being a tournament analyst for us. And you actually have a couple of storylines that maybe aren't 100% related to the Zags and Vandals in the tourney.
Yeah, you start to look at these kind of small families, that is the coaching fraternities and different, players and staffs that moving around. Interesting to look into Gonzaga's bracket, and if things go well and you wait all the way to the Elite Eight, you'd play against Tommy Lloyd's Arizona Wildcats, potentially. Our old friend, a guy that actually coached me in college, and fun to see him doing so well at Arizona. So there's some dynamics there, and of course Gonzaga, if they win their first round matchup, BYU. It's not that long ago. These two were battling it out in conference, and they all know each other. And yeah, there's a few coaching changes. Mark Pope now at Kentucky, not at BYU, but a lot of familiar faces and some battles in there. So Interesting to look around and kind of see all these different scenarios and who you might meet and kind of what these things feel like. And then, of course, we talked about it with Houston and Idaho. I mean, Kelvin Sampson was an inland Northwester for a while.
Very familiar with Idaho, and while they were still a good program when Kelvin was with the Cougars.
Yeah, so he knows Wazoo. He was at Montana. I mean, we talked about fly fishing with Coach Few in years past. So there's going to be a lot of familiarity. In fact, we were just watching a little bit of coverage during the break. They asked Kelvin Sampson about potentially playing the final game of their region in Houston. And they said, no, I'm not looking over anybody. We know 1 seeds have lost in the past. We know 2 seeds have lost in the past. So he's not taking Idaho lightly either.
All right, Sean, we'll go back over to you as we're getting towards the end here, but still got a lot to talk about.
All right, great stuff. Well, let's take you back to the kennel. AJ standing by as we just are hearing from head coach Lisa Fortier. Hi, AJ.
Join with Gonzaga women's basketball head coach Lisa Fortier. Who you'll in the tournament? What are your thoughts? Ole Miss sounds familiar.
Yeah, totally different team. It's been a while since the only thing I think that's the same is our coaching staff, some of us and their head coach, and I don't know about their coaching staff. But I know that Coach Yo coaches her teams in a similar way. They're very intense. They're physical. They're aggressive to the basket. They draw a ton of fouls. And I think that, I'm excited. I'm excited for our team to see how we compete. And, we're going to get someone. We thought we were going to be around some people had said 11, 12, 13. So it's kind of what we expected. And we're excited to get these young guys out there and show them what the NCAA tournament is about.
Obviously, you've said no revenge when it comes to other matchups before. Is it helpful that there aren't any of the same players that, experienced that loss a couple years ago, or would that have been a benefit to harness that energy?
We are always trying to stay present. And so the competitive circumstances, we say this all the time, they change, but the process is the same. And we're just trying to figure out how to be our best every day, every possession when you're within a game. So I think, it doesn't matter. It's not something that I had considered, except for the fact that it was a tough game for us when we played them last time. But really, we have literally we have a totally different team. So do they. So I think one way or another, it doesn't matter. They just said, I told the team, hey, you guys, just so you know, they might ask you a question about last time we played, and they said, we played them before? I was like, yeah, that's fine. So they have no idea, which I think is just as well. We don't want them. I think coaches are trying to not have players, when we play Portland, have revenge, or we play Oregon State, coaches don't want players to think that. We want them to be present and to be better and to just do their very best. And so for a coach, I'm glad that they don't, that's not something like that, or someone who we played already this year and beat or didn't beat. I'm glad that it's a team we haven't seen and that they're going to get to learn all about them from a fresh start.
You're in a unique situation that your 2 star players have not been on this stage before. What are those conversations as far as prep look like, and is that even a conversation?
Yeah, no one on our team has been in this position before, and I think the biggest thing that we talk about with them a lot is that, and Lauren would probably be the first one to tell you, that it's not about any one player on our team. It's about our team and the group and covering for each other and having each other's back. And so I think that that's the same. That's a standard that we're trying to always achieve, regardless of if it's a big stage game or if it's a, whatever it's called in the beginning, an exhibition game. So, I think that not having any experience in the NCAA tournament is going to be something that's fun that we're going to gain, and it's good for all these young players to gain this experience. And so we'll see what they have. But I think that, it's not only our best players, it's all of our players. Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think any of them have played in the NCAA tournament. We've played in Minnesota before, so we'll be comfortable a little bit with that scenario. But that's the best that we got right now.
There you go. Obviously, in the last matchup, it may have been different athletes, but physicality was a huge component of that matchup with an SEC team. Is that something that you feel like you have new light on now that you went through that game, and how do you combat that as a factor?
Yeah, there's different styles of play all over the country, and obviously the SEC is one of the best and one of the most physical leagues that there is. I think that we have different personnel than we had before, and you can only simulate it the best that you can simulate it, right? And we played physical teams this year. We played some of them within our conference, and we played some of them recently. So there are experiences that we've had that are similar, but I think that every team provides new challenges and then new areas where you can be strong against them. And so we're going to have to figure out which areas we can be strong and which areas are our challenges, and try to maximize our efforts against that the best that we can in this next couple of days before we get out there and see them live.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Coach, for your time, and good luck.
Thank you.
Guys.
All right, AJ and head coach Fortier reacting to the draw and the tournament first game on the docket there. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with our pulse streaming on NonStop Local. Drive for the title, and the stage is set, so to speak. Good to see you and welcome. I'm Sean Owsley alongside Austin Getz. 4 teams from our region. They know exactly where they're going to be.
It's a big day for the Gonzaga Bulldogs and the Idaho Vandals. All 4 teams knew they were in as conference champions. But Selection Sunday always brings the nerves. Even if you know you're in, you're somehow like, nothing's going to pop up. Our name's not going to pop up. They're not going to let us in the tourney. And then you finally see it. You finally see the name, you're in, and the excitement just kind of overloads you. And now you have an opponent on the schedule.
All right, let's look at the brackets. Let's look at the draws, when they're playing and where they're playing.
Absolutely. Let's start with the Gonzaga men. They are a 3 seed. And they are headed to Portland, the Moda Center, a place that they have played twice before in this NCAA tournament. Their first round matchup will be against 14 seed Kennesaw State, the Owls. And that is a Thursday game. We won't know the times for a couple days. They allow the television networks a day or two to figure out when they're going to put the tip-off time. We don't know the channel yet. We do know that our SWX sports team will be there live to bring you coverage. All right, let's go now to the Idaho Vandal men, a 15 seed, and they are headed to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, where they will face 2 seed Houston. Obviously a tough matchup, a David versus Goliath matchup, but this is why you play the games. You want to get in this tournament. You could be a 100 seed, and you don't mind, as they'll go up against Kelvin Sampson and his Cougars. Now over to the women's draw, where the Gonzaga Bulldogs are headed to Minneapolis, Minnesota. They will face Ole Miss in a 12-seed Zag versus 5-seed Rebels matchup. Now that is a Friday game coming up, and we are waiting to hear the time on that. Finally, last and certainly not least, the Idaho Vandal women. They are headed to Norman, Oklahoma, where they will take on the 4-seed Sooners. And that is our 4 teams into the tournament, Sean.
Yeah, I love that you pulled all that from memory. It's like a jigsaw puzzle with 4 teams, 4 different locations, who they're playing, their seeds. But yeah, so the stage is set. We've heard over the last 2 hours of our Drive for Title coverage, if you didn't see that on SWX, we've heard from head coaches, Coach Few, Coach Fortier, and the other leaders of their teams talking about reacting to who their draw is and what they have to do to be successful in the tournament. I think it always comes back to that for me. I've been on the road, covered the tournament many, many years along the way. And it's if you play your brand of basketball, that's what you can control.
Right. Yeah, you don't have any common matchups here. There's no matchups, at least this early in the tournament, of familiar opponents. You have first-time matchups probably almost across the board. I know that the Gonzaga women have played Ole Miss, in fact, recently in the tournament. But when you have a new scout, as here you see some of the celebration for the Gonzaga women that sent them to the tournament, when you have not as much familiarity, you're right, Sean, you look inward. A lot of times when you're playing a matchup, a team that you know their strengths, their weaknesses, you look outward and say, we can stop them from doing this. When it's not as much of a familiar team and not as much preparation time, you have to say, what do we do best? What do I, head coach Mark Few, head coach Lisa Fortier, know most about my team that drives us to the most success? That's what you focus on. That is what you circle and underline and say, here's what we need to focus on in the next 3 days. Because you also have to mix in travel. Traveling to get to your location, a ton of media, more than a lot of these players and schools are used to. And then finally, there are games at the end of this.
Yeah, I love that. I love that factor that you kind of touched on there about the games is there's virtually, unless it's a strange draw, zero familiarity with the opponent that you're playing.
Right.
They come from all different corners of the nation there, but you got to play the game. Take it one at a time. We hear all of that, but it is true. In this tournament, you can be one and done quickly.
You can, and the Gonzaga, the Gonzaga Bulldogs are a perfect example. On the men's and women's side, they have been the high seed pulling the upset. They have been the low seed on the wrong end of the upset.
Right.
Nobody knows, how the tournament dice throw out. You can throw out all the 16 versus 1s, 3s versus 14s, and for a while, when the power scales were so far unbalanced, yeah, you could snooze your way through a 16-1. You can't anymore. These matchups are going to come down to the wire, and I'll tell you what, from seeing these 4 teams, including the Gonzaga men, who are the only, let's call them higher seed, the higher ranked seed, but from seeing the Gonzaga women and both Vandal teams, these teams do not shy away from anybody. And neither do the Gonzaga men for that matter. But these teams are going to go in with a fight and believe they can win this game.
There's the matchup there. Gonzaga Bulldogs, the man against Kennesaw State. That will be in Portland on Thursday. Let me ask you what you heard, because you listened to in its entirety the news conference with head coach Mark Few, his reaction to that 3 seed in Portland, which was basically expected, but it did become permanent when the draw was announced. What did you hear from him that stood out to you? What are your takeaways?
2 big things. One, he never will overlook the importance of making this tournament, no matter how many times in a row it has been, 27 if you're counting. 2, the ease of which his fans can get there, and that is such a big thing. In the NCAA tournament, especially if you are a high seed, John Billings and I were talking about this, if you are the seed that is expected to win playing an upset, if you're out on the road somewhere, everybody in that arena is pulling against you. But with Gonzaga being in Portland, it kind of gives you the opportunity to be the seed that everybody is cheering for, because you have a bunch of Gonzaga fans there. You're not going to be the evil 3 seed trying to beat the 14 seed that everybody jumps on the bandwagon for.
There you see some of the highlights along the way, and they have had some adversity and really have had to morph and adapt and adjust. And obviously, he's an ace at making adjustments. We've seen that. You don't become a prominent program in basketball, NCAA basketball, unless you are able to evaluate, adapt, change, make modifications on the fly. And that breeds excellence and success. There's obviously prolonged.
It's, again, I said it earlier, and I'll say it again, it is the most remarkable story in sports, that a small school from a small conference has now made almost 3 decades worth of NCAA tournaments consecutively. It's not, they had a great run in the 60s, they went to 10, then in the 80s they went to 10 more, and now they've gone to 10 straight. No, this is almost 30, and if we had the tournament in 2020, where they would have been the #1 overall seed, it would be 28 straight. So essentially they've made 28 straight. This will be their 27th straight that they play in.
Yeah, I think it was in 1995 when they first cracked the tournament there. John Riley was one of their star shooters on that team, and then obviously it just took off at the end of the 90s, and it continues to this day for the Gonzaga men's team. Gonzaga women's team, they'll travel to Minneapolis. The Idaho men are traveling to Oklahoma City. The Idaho women are traveling to Norman, Oklahoma. Stage is set. Now we play the games.
Exactly. You wait all year. You finally have a bracket. People will be filling out their bracket pools and trying to pick all the winners. And starting Thursday, we have games.
Yeah. All right, that is our drive for the title coverage. Thanks so much for being with us here on NonStop Local. Take care. Have a great night.